We live our lives under a grand illusion. We build our cities, pave our roads, and raise our families on a foundation we believe to be solid, permanent, and unchanging. We call it terra firma, solid earth. But beneath this thin, fragile crust of cold rock lies a terrifying truth. Our entire planet is wrapped in a restless, liquid furnace. We are floating on a vast, churning sea of primordial fire. This solid ground we claim as ours is nothing more than a microscopic skin, a fragile eggshell holding back the ancient rage of a planetary core. Deep below the quiet cadence of our daily routines, a chaotic war of heat and pressure rages without a single moment of rest. It is the very heat of creation itself, trapped in a dark subterranean prison, constantly clawing at the stone to break free. And when the ceiling of our world can no longer bear the weight of this hidden fury, the architecture of human civilization is forced to face its absolute powerlessness. Every now and then, the illusion shatters. The earth tears open its own flesh, reminding us that it is not a dead monument of stone, but a living, breathing monster. For millennia, this primal energy has been silently pooling beneath our feet, waiting for the weakest seam in the crust to fail. When it finally breaks, human history is instantly paused by the sheer, unyielding scale of planetary mechanics. This is the story of the inner fire. A journey into the volcanic underworld where land is not found, it is born in agony. To understand the fire, we must look at the global scaffolding of our world. Look as the heavy oceanic lithosphere dives straight into the mantle to be melted anew, trapped in an accretionary wedge that forces magma upward to birth violent volcanoes. Here, under unfathomable pressure, the solid seabed is crushed and recycled into molten fury, fueling the subterranean chambers of the world's most dangerous peaks. Elsewhere, the colossal slabs of rock clash in a brutal continental convergence, grinding past one another, triggering massive earthquakes, and thrusting the very crust upward to forge towering mountains. It is a collision of landmasses in slow motion, buckling the very geography of our planet and releasing raw energy that makes the entire continents tremble. But the engine of the Earth doesn't just collide, it tears apart. In zones of divergence, the crust splits open, carving deep rifts through the land to birthing brand new oceans. As the abyss widens, the bleeding wounds of the earth are instantly flooded with fresh magma, forging a newborn seafloor from the deep. And even far from these boundaries, columns of intense heat, hotspots, pierce the crust from the deep mantle, building underwater seamounts that rise to become new islands, sometimes triggering cataclysmic tsunamis. These primordial thermal plumes rise like volcanic torches from the planet's deepest core, melting through the moving plates from beneath. This is the turbulent architecture of a living world, and it is at one of these isolated deep-sea hotspots where our journey into the true underworld begins. Here, the ocean floor is forced down into the crushing, white-hot depths of the Earth's mantle. It is a slow, relentless descent, where ancient oceanic plates clash and grind against the continents with a violence that defies human comprehension. For millions of years, this dark seabed has collected the cold weight of the sea, but now it must face the merciless anatomy of the planet's interior. As the rock descends deeper into the abyss, it traps water, lowering the melting point of the surrounding stone. Superheated under impossible pressure, this trapped moisture acts as a volatile chemical catalyst, transforming solid bedrock into a chaotic, molten stew. The result is magma, buoyant, highly pressurized, and desperate for escape. This newborn fire begins its perilous journey upward, burning through miles of overlying solid crust, carving out vertical pathways known as magma plumes. Like ghost-like towers of pure thermal energy, they migrate toward the fragile boundary between the underworld and our living world. It gathers in massive subterranean chambers, accumulating force over decades, centuries, or millennia. Sealed inside these deep, unyielding cauldrons, the expanding magma spikes the pressure to unimaginable levels, warping the very topography of the mountains above. The ground swells like a modern fortress under siege. The rocks groan under the strain, and the earth silently buckles, telegraphing a warning that cannot be ignored. These chambers are the exhaust valves of a planetary engine, waiting for the moment the overlying rock can no longer contain the fury below. There is no place on Earth that reveals this process more clearly than the isolated shield volcanoes of Hawaii. Here at Kilauea, the magma is low in silica, allowing it to flow with a terrifying, fluid grace. This is not just an explosion. It is a river. A torrent of molten basalt, reaching temperatures exceeding 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, rushing down slopes like a highway of liquid stars. It dictates its own path, obliterating everything in its trajectory with absolute indifference. As these incandescent channels breach their banks, they rewrite the island's geography in real time, swallowing ancient forests and human infrastructure alike under a heavy, unstoppable shroud of fire. It is a relentless tide of planetary blood, a stark visual reminder that when the deep Earth speaks, humanity has no choice but to step aside and watch. Watch the surface of the flow. As it meets the cold atmosphere of our world, a thin, glassy skin forms over the molten interior. It twists, wrinkles, and folds into beautiful rope-like structures known as pahoehoe. This cooling crust acts as a living, dynamic insulation, stretching and pulling under the immense, heavy momentum of the liquid river underneath. In this fragile state, the lava creates a fluid tapestry of silver and dark crimson, a delicate skin dancing on top of a subterranean furnace. It is a mesmerizing spectacle of geological transition, where the solid rock continuously breaks, bleeds with fresh light, and instantly heals itself in a matter of seconds. But when the flow changes, it transforms into a crushing, slow-moving wall of jagged, incandescent clinkers. It moves with a heavy, mechanical crunch, sounding like a mountain of breaking glass, slowly pushing forward, an unstoppable wall of absolute destruction. Every grinding step of this clinker wall radiates a searing blast of heat that warps the very air, blinding the senses of anyone who stands too close. Beneath its terrifying, slow-motion advance, the old world is systematically pulverized, leaving behind a blank, jagged canvas of sterile black stone. To measure this monster, humanity must walk directly into its jaws. Armed with silver heat shields and steel tools, geologists from the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory step onto the scorching, unstable crust. They are hunting for data. Every sample of molten rock contains a chemical fingerprint, a message from the deep mantle telling us how gas pressure is building inside the mountain's throat. But science can only observe. It cannot protect. When the pressure spikes beyond the breaking point, the mountain reclaims the land. Entire forests are turned to ash in seconds. Neighborhoods are erased, swallowed beneath a 10-foot layer of solid, sterile, black stone. The landscape is reduced to a post-apocalyptic wasteland, a stark reminder of our total insignificance in the face of planetary evolution. Yet within this absolute destruction lies the ultimate paradox of our planet. Volcanoes do not just destroy, they create. Watch the meeting of fire and water. As the 2,000-degree lava river plunges into the freezing Pacific Ocean, a violent battle erupts. The water flashes instantly into steam, shattering the molten rock into black sand. In this chaotic explosion of steam and ash, the island grows. New cliffs are forged. New geography is written. Years later, the black wasteland begins to change. Rain fills the mineral-rich cracks of the basalt. And from the dark, sterile stone, a single green sprout emerges. The volcanic ash, once a herald of death, becomes the most fertile soil on Earth. The cycle closes. Destruction gives way to creation, proving that the fire is not our executioner, but the ultimate architect of life. Long after our civilizations have turned to dust, the inner fire will keep burning. We are merely temporary passengers on a dynamic, restless spaceship. The volcanoes remind us that our planet is alive, constantly recycling its past to build its future. We are born of this stardust, sustained by this inner furnace. And in the grand theater of the cosmos, we remain a fragile species that dared to look straight into the fire, stand on the edge of the abyss, and marvel at the raw, untamed majesty of a living world.